To those of you who are watching my stream recorded on YouTube, I am now in the process of wrapping up my work on this micro game. I'd like to go on to transitioning to working on my project, and there's a few things I want to do before I get started in earnest on that. But first I'm going to wrap up this game, and the main things that I want to do are fix some pretty egregious bugs and then get it published and put it onto some websites so that people can play it. That's my goal. So I've got my list of notes here. Should have a pencil around here, although I don't know where it's at. Just use this pen, I guess. Cross off some of the things I've already done. Decided not to do anything with jumping on the enemies. I could, but why spend more time polishing someone else's game? I should get started on mine. Okay. So there were a couple of bugs that were really pretty bad that I wanted to focus on. One of them was the issue with the jump deceleration. So that one was particularly frustrating. Basically, there's this platformer model which sets some constants for the jump physics, and I don't know. Messed the whole thing up. The script says one thing, but then once you start the game, it says another thing, and so I want to figure out why that is. And if I can't figure out why that is, I at least want to get a hack in so that it will work. So on the player, there's the player controller script. Let's get that open. And then I'm going to close all the other tabs. Okay, so we have a max speed and a jump takeoff speed. I think we've actually reset the max speed to 5 here. Let's set that to 5 so that the script matches out here. Do revert. Oh, now see, this is interesting. Because when I revert it says 3 now. What the heck? Okay, the other thing that affects the movement is this platformer model. So let's get this open. It's with F12. Darn it, the shortcuts. F12. So now here in the platformer model, we've got jump modifier, the jump deceleration. So now this is 1.5 and this is 0.5. And those numbers seem good. Except when the game starts, that's not what they are. So here the jump modifier is set to 0.9. And here it's set to 0. And I don't know why that happens. So when I click start, alright, these do not get set to what I expect them to be set to. And the player, their max speed is now 3, which is weird. And you see the issue with the jump deceleration is that when I let go of the spacebar, it immediately stops the jump, which is kind of frustrating. Anyways, so my first thought is come to the game controller, we'll set this to 1 and this to 0.5. I don't think the jump modifier needs to be 1.5. I already jump high enough with a speed of 7. But let's save those guys and then we'll click start and see what happens. Hi, I'm W2 Melvin's dad. You don't need to watch if you're a trivia, you can focus on your trivia. Okay, so I think I've resolved the issue with this at least. It feels pretty natural, but I'm curious how jump deceleration of 0.7 would look. And this is kind of hard to tell because you don't have your hands on the keyboard like I do. But you can see when I just tap the space bar, I jump only a certain height. But when I hold it down, I can jump a lot higher. That's basically what the jump deceleration has to do with. It's how, like, what percentage of your jump height do you get when you just tap the spacebar? So that's a tap versus a hold. We'll do 0.6 there, and we'll do 0.9 there. Those guys seem like better numbers. I don't really see why we need to have them even be public, though. So I'm gonna make them private. Oh, they need to be public because, yeah, okay. Because the other scripts need to be able to access them. We should make these numbers at least match what we intend for them to be, so that there's no confusion. So then back on the player, the max speed here. It's still interesting that when I click revert, it goes back to 3. There's also this health script, so here we have our max HP. We have a way to check if we're currently alive, our current HP. We can increase it. We can decrease it. And then if it gets to 0, we call it health is 0 event. And then we have a die function. And then on awake we set the current HP equal to the max HP. I'm curious what this guy is. So this schedules a player death on health is 0. And the player death is we trigger the hurt animation, the dead animation, and then this player spawn event, which sets your location back to the spawn point, increments your health, and then enables the player input. Yeah. And away he goes. I think there's also this weird bug where if you're like standing right next to a wall and you try to jump, it fails. That one's kind of frustrating. You can like also hit a wall on the way up. So yeah, that one's kind of weird. Okay, but I'd say that right now we've solved the bug associated with the jump deceleration. Which is good. Okay. So there's also this issue where when you go through 2 jump pads in a row, it will like lock in your speed. So I think if there's a jump pad right behind the start, so, or right in front of the start. So if I do this and then this, now my max speed is permanently 7. If you go to the player and look now, my max speed is 7. Which is obviously a bug. So let's look at fixing that. The issue has to do with the platformer speed pad script. So here we have the platformer speed pad script, and we have the duration on trigger enter 2D. We do the checks for the player, and if we find the player controller, then we start a coroutine. That's called player modifier, player duration. Okay. Now, the issue with this is that we cache the initial speed here, and then we set our max speed equal to what we want it to be. Okay, and then we wait for the lifetime. And then we set the max speed back to initial speed. So let's imagine 2 calls to this player modifier. We have the first call with a lifetime of 1 second. And then before that 1 second elapses, we get a second call. So we set initial speed equal to 5. We set player.max speed equal to 7. And then we get our second call, or we start waiting here, and they'll wait for seconds. Okay, we get our second call. We set initial speed equal to player.max speed, which is currently 7. And then we set player.max speed equal to max speed, which is just 7. And then we start waiting. Now the first one times out, and then we set player.max speed equal to initial speed. That means that max speed gets set to 7. Well, actually, no, it'd be set back to 5 shortly, and then the second one finishes waiting, and then initial speed is 7, and so max speed gets set to 7. So that's what happens. And my thought on solving this is to move this routine to the player. There's two ways to go about doing this. I can either give the player a field called base speed, and then we set the player.max speed back to the base speed at the end, and we don't save the initial speed. So that's the easier option. The problem is that if we go over 2 speed boost, then the second one gets cut short whenever the first one ends. We want it to be where every time you go over a speed boost, it like resets your time. You have another second or whatever until your speed boost runs out. So let's open up the player controller. I think we're going to go with the tougher option. It'll be more polished. It'll be correct. It'll feel correct when you're playing. Then we'll have a public void boost speed, and we'll do duration. Okay, and that'll be a float. Okay. Okay, and what this, so we're gonna have some information here about this speed. Okay, we're gonna do a private float speed boost, and we're gonna set this equal to 0 at initialization. And then every time we call boost speed, we're just gonna take in a float duration and a float speed. Let's say new max speed, we'll call it that. And we will set max speed equal to new max speed. And we'll do speed boost end. I'm gonna give this an underscore. I know Unity hasn't done it here, but I'm gonna try and be good about it. Speed boost end equals to time.time plus duration. Now in update, we will do if time.time is greater than speed boost end, then we will set max speed equal to original max speed. Okay, and we don't have this guy yet. We're gonna define it up here. Private float original max speed. Set that equal to max speed. We'll do that in awake. If I were defining this from scratch, I would do it the other way around, actually. I would make max speed set equal to original max speed, and I wouldn't have it be a public variable, but I'm not certain that it's not used anywhere else as public variable. Okay, so now we need to go and call boost speed. First we give it a duration, and then we give it the max speed variable. Let's see if this compiles, and then we'll try it out. Okay, I'm going faster, and at the end of it, I am no longer going faster. My max speed is still 5. Right, that's over here. Goes up to 7. Running through it a bunch, and it always goes back to 5. All right. Now that's just doing it based off of 1. It'd be cool if I could put 2 here to show what I'm talking about as well with 2. I was able to replicate it with just 1 earlier, but player speed. So if you don't believe me, you can see that there's a in this scene, you can see the box collider on here and the box collider on here. They're not overlapping, so we'll have 2 separate on-trigger enter events. And the player speed is 5. Cool. Now, one other thing. Is that I would like for the... Oh, I know why this is reverting back to 3, because the prefab for the player is got it to be 3. So if we set that to 5, now it'll probably recompile here. We go back to the player, and we do revert, it sets it to 5. Okay. Here's the speed pad. One other thing I wanted to adjust is the duration. I think 1 second's a little too short, so I'm gonna do 1.5. And then that should go and update all of the speed pads out here as well to be 1.5. So let's save the scene and try that out again. That just gives us that fun trail effect for a little bit longer. We worked so hard on that. It'd be a shame to not show that for a long time. Cool. Let's call that another bug crossed off the list. Fix bug with speed pad max speed. Okay, so we also wanted it to be when we got to the end that it set off a bunch of fireworks and stuff. So let's copy the confetti trigger from the beginning, do a Control D, drag this all the way down to the end. This will be the last thing I do tonight. So we've got our confetti trigger here. It's got a confetti celebration inside of it. We can move the confetti celebration wherever and leave the trigger on the door. We'll call this ending confetti trigger. And we'll have one off to the right of the house. We'll have one off to the left of the house. Maybe we'll have another one up top. Like that. And then just a bunch of other random ones around here. So now we have to set up all these on trigger enters associated with that. Number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9. And we do particle system dot play. Particle system play. Particle system play. Particle system play. 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 Okay. So because I'm lazy, I'm going to pause this. I'm gonna grab the player. I'm gonna move down to the end. Now I'm gonna resume it, and we'll see all the confetti celebrations. Woo! The only thing about this is that there's a lot up above where the player was at that we didn't get to see. That'd be pretty nice to be able to see those. So how do we get it to zoom out the camera? So let's go to the internet and we're using Cinemachine for our camera that was set up already. So Cinemachine, zoom out. I have a simple 2D camera and I'm using it like an isometric view in a 3D space. In order to be able to zoom in and out, I have to implement my code something like this. Seems like that didn't get resolved. Hello. This is my first time using Cinemachine. This is Solvent Shark. Hello. I'm figuring out how to zoom in or out on my character using the 2D camera with my mouse wheel. Is your camera ortho or perspective? And do you really mean zoom, or do you want to dolly the camera closer and further away? Ortho and dolly. For ortho, the dolly won't change anything because there's no perspective. You'll have to modify orthographic size if you want to see a difference on screen. Just add a script to modify vcam.mlens.orthographic size according to mouse wheel. And they've got their code here. So I'm not sure if mine is orthographic or not. Vcam. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna open up Paint here and draw what I'm talking about. So I've got this line here, and then over here is gonna be the house. Okay, so this is X. And let's say this is where the player is. Alright, and this is Y. So we have a distance between these two guys. And so we'll call this distance D. And if we'll do something like if D is greater than, I don't know, 5, then orthographic size is equal to 3.5. That's what our base value is here. Else it will then scale between 3.5 and I think a bigger number, right? Yeah, maybe like 6. As D approaches 0. So this here is a D axis, and this here is the ortho size. I'll say that's 3.5 and that is 6. Say this is a distance of 5. Okay, here's some guidelines for us. Okay. And then I think this equation is something like y equals six minus the rise over the run. That's 2.5 divided by 5. So, yeah, I think that's right. I think we can write a script for this pretty easily. So let's go to here, to this camera, and we'll write a new script that's going to be end zoom end goal zoom. So then end goal zoom needs a few things. It needs the public transform end goal. It needs public, it needs a distance, so it needs the float. This would be the zoom, or the, what was the word I used? Scale distance. Okay, and then it also needs the min and max ortho size. Min ortho size, public float max ortho size. What else do we need? The camera should have its own location. But that might not work. Because if we look at this, oh, so it actually does move as the player moves around. Cool. So let's write the script for this then. So assuming we've got all of those things, then we do public void update. In the update function, we're going to check the distance. Between our current location. So we'll get transform current location is equal to get component transform. Actually, I don't think we need to do that. We do just transform. Yeah. Because every object has to have a transform. Every game object, that is. Then we can do float distance to goal is equal to transform dot distance current location dot maybe end goal minus current location dot There's got to be a way to do unity transform math. Transform distance. Vector 3. That's what we want. Oops. Whoa. Vector 3 dot distance between transform dot position and then end goal dot position. Don't need to cache the current location. Okay, so now we do if what we talked about here in this bit here. If distance to goal is greater than scale distance, then we've got to get access to the virtual camera. Hold on. Cinemachine virtual camera. That's also one that we need to have access to for sure. Public Cinemachine virtual camera vcam using Cinemachine. Vcam dot lens dot orthographic size equals min orthographic size, else we have our little equation here. Y is the orthographic size. This is the max minus the rise over run. So we'll do float m do float b. Float b is the max orthographic size. M is the max orthographic size minus the min orthographic size divided by the scale distance. Or just so we don't have to make it negative later, let's do min there. We said vcam dot mlens dot orthographic size equal to, this is y equals mx plus b. Where x is the distance to the goal. So let's drag our virtual cam into here. We have our victory zone. Unity's being pretty slow right now. So that's this thing here. We should be able to drag that into the end goal. Scale distance will do... I don't really have a good sense of what the distance is here. So this one is an x of zero, basically. And this one has an x of negative 2.4. I think I probably wanted to start scaling somewhere around here. So maybe 4, distance of 4. The min ortho size is 3.5 and the max ortho size is 6. Wow. Let's try it out. Oh, yeah, okay. So let's be watching the orthographic size here. Okay, so it's 3.5. We want to see that being 3.5 until we get right up to the end. Oh no. No. Alright, pause again. Gonna move the player. Save us some time here. Gonna move the player into this hallway here. Okay, the virtual camera orthographic size still 3.5. Did I really do that? Damn. That didn't work at all. So let's look at the positions here. So this is position of 141, comma, or 145, comma, minus 7.8. And then the victory location is 146, comma, negative 8. Well, the distances between those should be pretty small, you know, no more than 2. So what's going on? That should be a B, but that shouldn't affect, Let's comment all this business out real quick and just try something silly. So we'll do vcam dot mlens dot orthographic size plus equals, well, let's see, .1. Let's do 0.1 because this is going to be really fast. Oh, well, that's working. So setting that's not the issue. Maybe the distance is the issue. It's going to be a lot of debugs here. Okay, so the virtual camera doesn't get any closer than this thing here. So we should probably go based off the player instead of the virtual camera's location. Still need access to the virtual camera, but we'll do public transform player location. And then we'll drag the player into there. Cool. I think we want to start scaling a bit sooner though. But I think that basically worked. So let's try to scale up to 10 distance away and then set the max earthwork size to something even bigger like 7.5. So that's pretty dang cool. Although now the timer isn't stopping when we hit the thing. That's odd. Cool. So I think that is really sweet. Maybe we can get a couple more. I'm a sucker for these confettis. Let's just see if we can get a couple more into here. Get one there, get one there, get one there. Gotta drag number 10 in, 11, 12, and 13. And play. 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 If I was gonna make this really polished, what I would do is I would have it, I'd have the confetti things be random, and I'd have them like randomly located within a box, and then they would go off in a sort of bursty kind of deal rather than all at once. That would be a little bit more fun, and then I'd have some sort of triumph music. Actually, for all I know, there is triumph music because I've had the audio off. No, there's not. No game timer found. Stop timer. Stop time equals this. Stopped equals true. Ah, okay, so yeah, that's the deal. If there's any input, this is a bug. we wrote a bug, so if there is any input after it stops it, it will restart the timer, and then nothing will be around to stop it. So, let's do a new thing that's something like private bool is first input scene. Set that to false. And then we'll check that instead of stopped. So that should be an underscore as well. So if is not first input seen, or is first input not seen, and there is input, then we start the timer and we do this. Okay. Something interesting I noticed, which I'm going to write down in things I've learned, is that when you press the pause button and then unpress the pause button, it recalls awake. So that's actually really interesting. Awake is called on unpause. I don't remember what I saw that told me that. I've forgotten now. I'm kind of tired. But let's check that that script update worked. So timer's not going yet. If we jump, then it starts. And if we hit the thing, it stops. Even if we jump, press buttons, bam, it's done. Cool. Close all those tabs. Let's sort our end goal zoom into the scripts. So this is probably under view. End goal zoom, yeah. That seems correct. I'm thinking having the scores so high makes it kind of seem not as meaningful. So we have the gem score, and then we have the time score, and I'm wondering if we can just kind of tweak these guys down. had a Desmos thing open before. No, not great. $80,000 times g to the power of 1 divided by 2.5. And we have F4 is equal to F1 plus F3. Okay. I don't remember exactly what this number was. That seems about right. 150. Might have been 153. Whatever. So I want to bring the scores down by quite a lot. Like a factor of 100. The problem is that just brings them. Hi, Jitspoe. How's it going? Thanks for the first time in the chat. Good, I'm glad it's going well. Think I need more first-time viewers? I also think I need more first-time viewers. What a crazy coincidence. Got any suggestions for that? Wow. Look at that. Thank you. That would help. Thank you very much. Well, hello. Hello all of my new viewers who've just come in via raid. I'm working up wrapping wrapping up this micro game tutorial I'm doing through Unity to get a better hold of the game engine. Right now I'm working on tweaking my score system to be a little bit more rewarding, to have a good balance between collecting these gems and getting it done in a quick amount of time. So I'm messing with the curves right now to get something that seems cool. Hi Fublaz, thanks for the Jitspoe stash. Yeah, I was messing around with the curves before, making them nice and interesting, but the score was like getting up into the millions, and it was just hard to track your progress. So it's kind of like got an arcade kind of style to it. You don't want the score to be too high. You want every action you take to have a meaningful effect on the score. So this red curve here represents the score you get from collecting your score over time as you collect more gems. And then the green one here is the score of the gems themselves. So as you collect more gems, it takes more time. So there's like a drain on time. As you play for longer, you start to lose points from not completing it, kind of like what they have in Mario. And then the purple curve down here is the combination of those two. Okay. It's a bit too much. My goal is to get the top of this purple curve somewhere around 75. Thanks, Jitspoe. Good luck with your food. And thanks again for the raid. That means a lot. Okay, we got 68 for the top of this purple curve. That's pretty close. Wanted to get it a little bit further over though. So what the top of this curve represents is what the optimal number of gems to collect. So there are 110 total gems on the map. Let's do like 85 there. 89. Yeah, that's pretty close to 75. And now we've got a maximum score of 100,000 rather than 1,000,000, so the numbers from the time drop off quite quickly. That's what the goal of this exercise was here for me. So let's move these numbers over. I've got 60,000 for the base time score and a power of 1.9. So if we see over in our script in the time scorer, change the base score to 60,000 and our score power to 1.9. And then for our gem scorer, we've got these numbers. We've got 8.9 thousand and a score power of 2.5. So let's try this out again. I'm going to move the player back to the start where they should be. Okay, so alright, the time doesn't start counting until you start moving, but our score right now is a base of 60,000. If I start moving, you see it starts to count down. And the more time we take, the faster it's going to count down. We're going to lose more and more points. But we collect our first gems, we start getting points. Now we're up to 78,000. Oh no, I died. Anyways, I think that's a pretty good example of how the score curve works, and I think that seems a lot more interesting than having it be up around basically gyrating between 700,000 and 900,000. Wasn't even though that is a really big range, it didn't feel like that big of a range compared to 60,000 up to 80,000 and just playing through the first little part of the map. So I think that seems really good now. So that was basically the last thing I wanted to do before I wrap up this stream, and in the next stream I'm gonna get the game published. There's a tutorial here on Unity Learn for how to get the game published, and then I'm gonna upload it to itch.io, which I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of itch.io, but it's this website where people can upload all sorts of different indie games. I don't think that they have to be built in Unity, but I think most of them are. You can have them be free or you can charge for them. And so I've actually already got one game on here that I did during a game jam in college. It's not that great, but I'm gonna upload this platformer game alongside of there, and if you come back for the next stream, you can be one of the first players once it goes live. Okay, so as a little exercise, I'm going to summarize what I went through in this stream. So I started off by fixing some of the Unity bugs that already existed. Specifically, there was one with multiple speed pads, breaking base speed. So when you went through one speed pad and through another before your duration ran out, then your base speed was overwritten, and that was a bug that was pre-existing for this micro game. So I fixed that one. There was another bug associated with the jump deceleration. That one was a pretty easy fix. Fixed jump deceleration. After that, I worked on an end goal, sort of, we'll call it a cinematic. That was this whole bit here with all these fireworks at the end. So when you get closer to this house, which is the end goal, the camera zooms out a bit, and then once you hit it, all these fireworks go off. So that was pretty interesting. That was fun. Made a little script there, and I've got this graphic that showed what my curve was looking like. So camera zoom out. Lots of confetti cannons. Alright, and then the last thing that I was just working on was retuning this score curve. Also in there, I got a raid. That was from Jitspoe. Thanks again, Jitspoe, and all of Jitspoe's followers for sticking around. I hope you found this this content interesting. If you did, you can can leave a follow. I know you missed out on probably the first 2/3 of this stream, but I upload all my streams to YouTube, and you can subscribe there and watch the recordings of the streams on YouTube. Now, pretty soon here, after I wrap up getting this micro game published, I'm going to work on starting up my own project. So there's going to be a few streams where I'm setting up some things like plastic. It's called Plastic SCM. It's some sort of version control system that Unity has. So I'm going to want to check that out, because that's a really important thing to have. I'm going to talk about some project management type stuff. I've got a lot of experience with this through my work. Talk about how to prioritize what work you want to do in your game, because we all know, if you've done any sort of game development, you know that there's lots of ideas you have. I've got a whole sheet of ideas here, even for this little micro game that I didn't come up with, and you have so limited time to work on them, so you have to pick and choose what's the most important, and there's lots of factors that go into that, and so I've got some good suggestions for that. Those are just a few things that I'm going to work on as I'm transitioning into my project from this micro game tutorial. I felt like I've learned a lot. It's not my first time working with Unity, but even still, there were quite a few good lessons here, and it's been fun. So, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream. Thanks for those watchers. If you want, this is your last opportunity to say something in the chat. I'll go ahead and respond if you do. All right. Well, to those of you on the stream and those of you who are watching on YouTube, thanks for watching, and have a nice night.